Hi, I'm Carrie Michael. I have a yin yoga practice for you today that will help you release anger. So whenever you're feeling angry, frustrated, resentful, or just cranky, this is a practice that will help you release that emotion. Basically, it just will help you release that pent-up fight and flight response that we get into when we're angry, and just allow you to kind of come down so you can respond rather than react from a more grounded place. So I have a few props with me for this practice. I've got a bolster, which you don't have to sit on. I'm sitting on it because it makes my hips feel good, but you can sit directly on the floor if that's better for you. I've also got a blanket and I've got a block. If you don't have a block, then a couple of thick books work just fine as a stand-in. I've even seen, recently I saw a video on Instagram where somebody used a roll of paper towels as, kind of a wrapped up roll of paper towels as a block. Who am I to argue with that? So, a low stool is fine. So I've got a few props with me. But if you don't have any props, that's fine too. You can do the practice without them. So we're going to go ahead and start out with a breathing exercise. It is a Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. So go ahead and just come to an easy seat, sit bones grounded either into the mat or into your bolster or blanket or whatever you might be sitting on. So sit bones grounded, rooting into the earth. Spine is nice and long, chest lifted, chin slightly tucked. You can close your eyes, or you can just keep a gentle gaze, maybe just gazing at the tip of your nose, if that feels more comfortable to you. And just start to notice your breath. You're just taking a nice natural breath here. And simply observe the breath without judgment. And if the mind starts to wander, simply return to the breath. Just allow the mind to wander without attaching to any one particular thought. So we're not trying to keep the thoughts from coming, but we're not attaching to any one of them either. Just come back to the breath when you notice that. Just allowing yourself to arrive at your mat. And now, we'll go ahead and start our alternate nostril breathing. The index finger and the middle finger resting on the third eye point, right thumb on the right nostril, ring finger and pinky on the left nostril. Now, with the right thumb, gently close the right nostril and inhale through the left. And then close the left nostril, open the right, and exhale. Now inhale through the right nostril, close the right nostril, open the left, and exhale. So that's one full round of alternate nostril breathing. Inhale through the left nostril, close the left nostril, and exhale through the right. And we're going to continue this breathing for 3 minutes. Inhale. Close the right nostril. Exhale through the left. Inhale left. Close the left nostril and open the right and exhale. Inhale. Close the right, open left, and exhale. And continue. you've completed both sides equally, just go ahead and let the right hand come down and just come back to that natural breath. Just be still and notice any sensations. Knowing that anything that comes up for you is right and good and appropriate. And exhale. All right, so we're going to move now to a wide leg child's pose. So I've got my bolster for this one and a block. Go ahead and place the block down, and then the bolster will come right on top of it. So you're making a little bit of a ramp here. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring my knees to either side of the base of the bolster. And then I'm going to come on down. Hips are back toward the heels. So like hips are sort of sitting on the heels, and then the body comes down. So my torso comes down. I'm going to rest on one cheek, whichever cheek is more comfortable for you to start with. We're going to do both though. So about halfway through the hold, I'm going to invite you to gently lift your head and switch sides so that we're stretching the neck equally on both sides. Now, if your hips are a little uncomfortable on your heels, then feel free to add a blanket or a pillow or something soft there in between the hips and the heels, just to add a little bit of softness. If that feels good to you, then that's an option that's available to you. So go ahead and come down. Arms and hands can rest just wherever they're comfortable. Come on to one cheek. And we're going to hold each side for about 2 minutes. Like I said, about halfway through, I'll invite you to switch sides. So I'll mind the time. Inhale deeply here. And let it go. And then just come back to that nice natural breath. Allow the props beneath you to support you completely. And just like we did at the beginning of class, if your mind starts to wander, just drift back to the breath. And at this time, just gently rise up and switch to the other cheek, big toes together. You can let your knees come out as wide as feels good so that you can just sink down, nestle down. Inhale here and exhale. Start to deepen your breath. And on an inhale, just press up, nice and slow. And we will transition into our next posture, which is a Sphinx pose. So for this, you might want a bolster. I'll show you the Sphinx pose with or without it. So I'm just going to have that at the ready. So Sphinx pose is a little bit of a gentle back bend. Come onto the belly and then come down so the elbows, I'm on my forearms here, elbows are directly beneath the shoulders and palms planted into the mat. And there's a slight rounding through my shoulder blades here. Mainly that's just to keep me from kind of compressing into the shoulders like this. Like that's no good. So, you know, it's just a slight lift. It's not even really an arch. It's more of just a lift between the shoulder blades. So you can be here. And it's a nice gentle curve of the spine. The lower body is just relaxed. The tops of my feet planted into the mat. And but if you want a little bit more of a back bend, you can use the bolster underneath your forearms. So instead of having my elbows on the mat, they're going to be on the bolster. Still, the elbows are underneath the shoulders. And that same lift through the shoulder blades, I'm just up a little higher. So if this feels good to your back, you know, make sure when you're up a little higher to kind of release the low body, release the glutes, let the feet just rest on the mat. Now, if this feels good to you, then this is great. I think I'm going to go with a little less of an extreme back bend for me, but you can do whichever variation appeals to you. So from here, inhale. And then release. And if it feels good to your neck, you can just allow it to come down. Or keep it in line with the spine. If this feels like a strain to your neck or this is uncomfortable for any reason, by all means, keep your gaze a little just in front of your mat here. And while you're here, as you breathe in through the nostrils, feel the rise of the belly, the expansion of the belly. Your belly's pressing into the mat, right? And then when you exhale, you can feel the belly contract. Inhale, breathe into the belly. And exhale. Inhale into the belly. And release. So just while you're here, just continuing that nice deep belly breath. Just allow yourself to feel kind of those organs pressing into the mat. It's kind of a gentle massage there. And take a couple of nice deep breaths. Inhale. And then exhale. On the exhale, just stack your hands, elbows come out, and just allow your head to come down and rest it on your stacked hands, crocodile pose, for just a couple of breaths here to rest after that posture. Just let the back release, let everything release. And you can stay here or maybe bend the legs and flex the feet and maybe just windshield wiper the ankles back and forth a couple times. And then come on back to center and place the hands underneath the shoulders and press up for our next posture. So the next posture is a dragonfly pose. For this one, you're going to go ahead and come into a seated position and just straddle the legs out. So it's not, a big straddle. You feel some sensation, but we're not trying to see how far open we can be. Sit in that kind of party. So, from here, you've got your straddle position, and this is going to be a restorative version of this dragonfly posture, which is a forward fold using a bolster. So I've got my bolster on the mat. The mat just helps keep the bolster from sliding around. And the base of the bolster is away from me and the top is towards me, so that when I bring my forehead down to the bolster, look at this. Ta-da! It stays where it is. Now you can play with how far apart, how far away the base of the bolster is. The further away it is, the more you're leaning forward. So just bear that in mind and, kind of try it a couple different ways and see how it feels good to your body today. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring the forehead down. And then the arms and hands just rest wherever they're comfortable and happy. And inhale deeply here. And then exhale, let it out. And then just come back to that natural breath and hold here. So you're allowing the bolster to support your weight. And you really are just allowing yourself to release here. A little bit of sensation in the backs of the legs, little in the groins, but really it's a very restorative forward fold. I've got my palms flipped up here. It's just helping my shoulders release, but if it would feel good and more grounding for you to have your palms down, it's certainly, it's whatever works for you. Make yourself happy. final seconds here. Just start to deepen your breath. And then on an inhale, very slowly start to come out of this posture. And go ahead and set your bolster to the side. And come around to all fours for a few rounds of cat and cow, just to get a little flex in the spine, work the spine out a little bit. So my knees are directly beneath the hips, wrists directly beneath the shoulders. If this is a little painful for the wrists, then you can come forward a little bit on the wrists. Maybe that takes a little pressure off the wrists, or you can always use your fists, or you can have blocks here. You know, like if I had 2 blocks, you know, maybe you can do this type of a deal. So I'm just gonna come to all fours here in a neutral spine. And then on an inhale, drop the belly, tilt the pelvis up, lift the chest, maybe lift the chin if it feels good to your neck, and then exhale, press the mat away from you, round the spine, really articulating the spine, gazes towards your thighs, tuck the pelvis in. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest, tilt the pelvis up and look up. And exhale, round the spine like an angry cat. Inhale. And exhale. One more time. Inhale here. And exhale. And then come to seated for shoelace. So I'm going to show you a few variations on this pose, and whichever feels the best to you is the one that you want to do. It's a little bit of a hip opener. So for shoelace, go ahead and bring the right leg down, bend the right leg. The shin is parallel-ish, right, to the side of the mat here. And then walk your right foot a little over so that the right knee is kind of right in front of you here. And then bring the left leg around. So I'm stacking, or coming close to stacking, the left knee on top of the right. The left shin is, you know, kind of in line with the long edge of the mat here, and the left foot is flexed. So this is shoelace. Sit up nice and tall. Now, if this is a lot, or if this is bugging your knee or your ankle, then it's fine to go ahead and do half shoelace, which is, you know, leaving the, like letting the right leg, the bent leg, the bottom leg, straighten out in front of you. So then you've just got one leg bent. This is half shoelace. If you don't love it, another variation that we can do in this posture is to just take an easy seat. So choose, you know, whichever makes the most sense for you, and then we're going to fold forward in it. So if you're going to be in the shoelace pose, then go ahead and find the variation that works for you. And then inhale here and exhale, start to lean forward. Now, once you lean forward, you might decide, okay, I'm going to change my legs, and that's fine. So you can take a half shoelace here and come forward, or you can be in an easy seat and fold into that and hold here. Inhale deeply here and exhale. Your hands can be out in front of you, or you can just bring them up underneath you, you know, kind of like little parentheses like I'm doing here. If you're in the full shoelace pose, it looks like this. I've got hold of my ankles, and then I'm just coming, kind of leaning forward a little bit. Now, taking just a second to see what's going on with your body. If like me, in full shoelace, if like me, one of your hips is hiked up, feel free to take a blanket or a block or a pillow or something and just place it underneath the hips so that both hips are grounded. So it's just a matter of trying out different props and seeing what makes the pose work best for you. Little trial and error, never hurt anyone. You definitely feel sensation in this one, but it shouldn't pinch or tingle. If it does, try a different variation or just take easy seat and just lean forward, hinging at the hip in that. If you feel it, it's working, but if it's painful, then we need to adjust something. So find the variation that works for you. Pain is not beneficial in any way. Take a couple of breaths here, a couple of nice deep breaths. And then inhale, come on up slowly. And we're gonna switch sides. And when you come out of these postures, be sure to just take it really easy, because holding a posture for a few minutes, they really bake in. And so you wanna be gentle with yourself as you transition out. Okay, so building into the shoelace pose on the other side. Left leg is bent here. The shin is in line with the long edge of the mat. Foot is flexed. Then I'm going to bring the right leg over. So this time the left leg is on the bottom. If you're doing half shoelace, then it's fine to go ahead and straighten the left leg this time so that the right knee is stacked over the left knee, but the left leg is extended. And of course you've got that option to take an easy seat just like this, and then from whichever variation you choose. I did full shoelace on one side, so now I'm contractually obligated to do it on the other side. And both my hips are grounded on this side, whereas before, I had one hip that was up a bit. So if you need to place a prop underneath your hip, if you've got kind of a dangling hip, that is totally a thing you can do. And it's perfectly good variation on the posture. Inhale here, and exhale, lean forward, hinging at the hip. In a yin pose, kind of step one is to get into it and feel it. And then step two is to get still. And then step three is to stay there and hold and allow the connective tissue of the joints to get their work in, and allow the nervous system to release. We hold so much tension and kind of emotional tension in our hips. And so hip openers are so good when we're feeling, when we're feeling lots of emotions that, if we don't move, they just sit there and they kind of bake into the hips. The other thing about these postures is that they are working on the liver meridian. Yin works from principles of traditional Chinese medicine, and in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, the liver is associated with anger. And so, kind of doing work along that meridian and stimulating that helps. And so that is why we're doing the postures that we're doing for this practice. Literally allows us to, like the liver is a detoxing organ. So think of it as just, this is allowing us to energetically detox from whatever it is that's making you angry or frustrated. And that's how movement helps us process emotion. Just continue to breathe here. Final seconds here. Just take a couple of nice deep breaths. And we'll prepare to transition out of this posture. And then inhale. Go ahead and come on up. And unwind the legs. Just bring the feet down in front of you. Maybe take the hands to either side and just windshield wiper the knees back and forth a couple times. Right? Feels like the body ages while we're in these postures. Go ahead and come to your back for a reclined twist. So just ease on down. And we'll start by bringing the knees into the chest and just rock from side to side. Just massage the spine after some of those forward folds. Good. And then bring the arms out to your sides. Palms can either be flipped up or down, whichever feels best to you. And then inhale here at center and exhale. Take both knees out to the right. Now, if you can always have a prop underneath your legs if that feels good. Always use your props in any way you think will support your practice. Now, your neck, your head can either be like your gaze at the ceiling, or if it feels good to your neck. If your neck does not like this, don't do it. But if it's acceptable to your neck, if your neck can tolerate it, your gaze can come out to the to the left. So your knees are out to the right, your gaze is to the left. See if you can encourage your left shoulder to stay down. Inhale deeply here. And exhale. And on that exhale, just allow yourself to melt into the mat. Final seconds. On an inhale, just slowly start to bring the knees back towards center. And then exhale, take the knees out to the left. Gaze is to the right or straight up at the ceiling, depending on how your neck feels. See if you can encourage that right shoulder to stay down. Inhale deeply here. And on the exhale, just melt into the mat for that nice spinal twist. As you hold the pose, you may feel yourself settle a little more. Releasing tension with every exhale. Final seconds here. And on an inhale, just come on back to center. And exhale, release. Go ahead and let your legs extend along the length of your mat. Arms by your sides, palms flipped up or down, if that feels more grounding to you. Take one nice, long, slow, deep breath in. And sigh it out. One more time. Take a nice, long, slow, deep breath in. Let everything settle. Just allow your shoulders to sink into the mat. Feet and ankles drop open. Soften the backs of your legs. Soften your knees. thighs and hips sink. Let the back muscles just soften and spread and melt into the mat. Soften your belly. Let your shoulders sink, arms heavy. Soften your fingers. Soften your throat. Release your jaw. Soften your forehead, your cheeks, your cheekbones. Just let your eyes sink heavy into their sockets. Let your temples drop. Let your head be heavy. Just allow your body to sink into the mat. And feel free to stay here in this rest posture, this Shavasana, for as long as you like. And that's it. I'm going to roll to one side, press myself up. Feel free to stay in that rest posture as long as you want. And I hope this practice serves you. Use it anytime you're feeling a little wound up from anger and need a release. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.